Okay, hello and welcome to Randomay. Today we are going to be building my first solar panel. I'm going to be planning on running my house off of solar, starting with the shed and then moving on to the house probably later. This is going to be the first of hopefully many that I'll be making. So I've got a solar panel out of the box here. You can see that it's like broken. These are a box of 40 broken solar cells off of eBay. I paid $12.55 US. Most of them are just broken like that one was. So we're at 0.33 volts. That's inside. That's also, it's kind of like hard for me not to cover it with my hand. So I'm going to actually solder a lead on the back of one quick here so I can test it on the desk. Had a little trouble cutting that piece off. My cutters are pretty shitty. So just to start here, we're going to throw down a little solder onto it. So each one of those little white squares are basically contacts for the back of the solar cell. And then once you get that on there, just tack it and then just drag it right along the back of the panel. It will actually solder itself down pretty well to the panel, but especially to the white squares. This wire I'm using is tabbing wire specifically for what I'm doing here. It was pretty cheap. I think I paid like a few dollars for it off of eBay. I can't remember. Okay, so we've got the panel hooked up now. And we're going to bring the light over top of it and I seen 0.58 volts. So it looks like we get up to about 0.5 volts approximately. So if we can get that on each cell, that's going to be our 15 volts, which would be awesome. So I soldered this string up of solar panels. There's 6 so far, and I'm just touching up one of them. The wire came a little loose. So when you're taking the solar panels out, if you get the broken ones, they come with lots of wire already on them, so you'll have to do less soldering, which is nice, than if you actually bought new ones. So make sure the wire is nice and straight before you put it down. I've got to take off this little piece here quick. I was just doing a test on the string of 6. Alright, so after we dab all the squares with a little bit of solder, we're going to take the iron and run it down across the wires and make sure all the solder from each of the contacts gets good and melted in. This is 5 times speed, so I'm really taking my time when I'm going down there because I really want to make sure it sticks good, because this is going to hold these cells together really. So that's going to be my end cell there that I just quickly held up. I've already got a couple leads soldered to the back because I was just messing around and testing a few panels. They're all about the same, all about half a volt. So we're just lining up another panel here and doing the same thing, soldering it down. This time I didn't actually dab solder because there was some on the back already. Because these were, obviously they've been used and then they must have cracked, and well, hey, I guess I can buy them really cheap, or pretty cheap anyway. I think they're 4x6 cells. I'm not sure how much amperage they put out, but like I said, I get up to half a volt. I'm hoping that when I complete this panel, I'll be able to like get an amp. Like an amp or 2 would be awesome, just to, like I said, charge my shed batteries up. I use them like maybe a couple hours, and it just powers like my radio and my little spotlight. Okay, so we've flipped over the panels now, and I'm going to test it. So we're going to get up to about 3.6 volts, and I'm going to try to bring I got 3.8, bringing the lamp a little closer. It's a lot harder now to get full light on each of the cells, so we're not going to get what we should, which is 5 volts. but I did take it outside and we got very close to 5 volts. As you can see here, I fucked this one up. Make sure you line them up straight. A good idea, I've been told, is to actually line them all up and tape them and then solder them down. So I've got all 3 of them done now. I thought I'd skip showing you how to tab every single cell together because it's pretty repetitive. You just keep doing that same thing for this. I've also hooked up leads to the outside wires, and it looks like we can get up to 11.4, maybe 11.9 volts with just my little spotlight. When I took it outside, I got over 13. You can see how I've got the tabbing wire hooked up there on the ends, and that connects from one row down, and then it connects to the next row there. At first I was hooking it up a little wrong, but I had to go back and fix it because I was hooking it up in parallel instead of a series. But it's all hooked up in series now, so we get up pretty high. So the one more thing I want to do here is run a negative and positive leads down and around, because I want to be able to hook things up from one spot rather than on either corners of the board. The board that I'm using is just a piece of 1/4 inch wood paneling from my trailer. I'm putting up drywall, so I've ripped down a bunch, so I'm like, well, I'll cut up a little square and we'll do that. And it works perfectly. I just cut it out with a handsaw quick, so it's not exactly straight, as you can tell, but it's pretty good. So these wires, as you can see there, that it barely took me anything to get that soldered down. You just hold it down for a second and you're like good to go. You can see I was using the needle nose. That was my preferred tool actually, because you can put one on either end of your connection to hold it down, and then just put your soldering iron in the middle. And then when you let go and just let it cool for a sec, it's connected. And remember, like I said, this is like solder covered wire, so there's lots of solder there. I didn't have to add any. I did make sure my soldering iron was tinned, so just a little solder on it. But other than that, it was good to go. And you can see I've also hot glued down the corners. So I got the corners, or the ends of each string of solar panels glued down. And I also went and glued down in between the cells too, so to hold it down a little better. Because eventually I do want to put it up somewhere. I want to find some glass for it, but we'll see. So here I'm cutting off I think a positive lead, because the underside of these cells is positive, the top is negative. So okay, there I've got the negative lead. I've seen. I'm like, okay, maybe I should grab the longer one. We're gonna do the positive. So I just straightened out the wire that's on the board. And we're gonna run that right off to the edge. And I'm just gonna hold it down quick. There. Oh, and fucked. Good job. Should have grabbed the pliers before I decided to try to do that. I was like, oh, I can just hold it. It's not, this thin metal wire isn't going to heat up that quickly. It's not going to burn. And I'm like, oh, fuck, it does. Better grab my pliers. Alright, so now I got the pliers. It should be easy. And it's on. The camera went blurry. That's better. And it's on, but it's a little crooked. So I'm like, oh, I can just straighten that out. And you bolt it off, you asshole. So take 3 here. You know, third time has to be the fucking charm, right? You know, if you fuck it up over 3 times, I think that's when you start freaking smashing something. Alright, so we've got that attached. And it's coming off the edge, which is perfect. Much easier to test this way. And we've got the other lead coming down here. And we've just got to solder the one more corner piece on here and then glue it down, and we will call it a day. All right, and this will hopefully go easy. There we go. So now we're going to just glue down the edges here where it's coming off. And you can see like I've glued the other joints too. I'm just going to add some more glue to the wire. I kind of want to cover like all the wires with glue that are running around the panel, because just to, cover it up. We're going to cut off this little extra piece that I've got. Try to make it look a little neat. I know it's pointless. It looks like crap anyway, and I think I fucked up that connection, but whatever. I actually went back and soldered it. I just didn't show that. All right, and we're making sure that none of the wires become connected. Like, we do not want those two wires at the top there to connect. That would be bad. So we're going to put a little glue here. Right there. Yeah, that's where I was talking about. And that was not enough glue. Fucking wire. It's like all turned up too. I was like, oh, I got it nice and straight and soldered it together. I'm like, nope, it's turned. I think it does like a full rotation or something. Yeah, I just kind of fucked that up, but whatever. I'm just gonna glue it down. And I'm just gonna like add a bunch of glue here and there and go over it. So I just super speed this a bit. So this is my first glorious solar panel. I'm just putting on the last little bit of glue around it, and we're going to call it done. Unfortunately, shortly after this video was made, I went to go test it under full sun. I was going to include that here, but it didn't go so well. The panel was dropped. I'm not going to say any more, but it was broken. I lost about 4 or 5 cells were smashed. So a good idea if you're going to build a cell is put it in glass or something like right away. Like anything would be better. But yeah, so I'm going to have to fix it. I've got a few cells left that are more broken, but hopefully it'll work out. Thanks for watching. Keep it random, eh?